Morning, chickens. How come you're still in there? A little too cold out here? I guess so. So when you're dealing with snow and you have a solar charger running your fence, you definitely want to make sure that you clean off the face of the solar charger, and which means you might be out here several times a day cleaning that off. But if that's what you rely on solely to power up your fence, it's just part of the fun of snow with pastured sheep. If you're running an electric fence for your sheep on pasture and you get a bunch of snow like this, one of the things I like to do, just from experience, is I like to go through, as you're getting any kind of heavy buildup of snow, and just kind of walk the perimeter of the fence and shake it off. And I'll go through and actually kick a path underneath to make sure that you're not getting a big mound of snow at the bottom. That's just draining the charge out of the fence. Another issue that I've come across is when you have this tall grass, the tall grass is going to collect snow and it's going to get weighed down, and it's going to weigh your fence down. And that's really the only problem I've had with the fence actually getting laid down, I believe, is probably from a whole lot of grass with a lot of snow on it pushing the fence down. It wasn't necessarily from the fence collecting a bunch of snow, but from the grass laying on it. So I try and make sure that they're not in a really tall grass area. And if there is some of that, I just like to kick the heavy snow off of it before it becomes a problem. So as you guys can see, we got a pretty good blanket of snow going over here. And people that are new to sheep might be pretty concerned that the snow is going to cover up all the good forage and the sheep won't be able to get to the forage. But in reality, if you take a look at the behavior of the sheep, it's just one of the coolest things about them. The concern is kind of unfounded, because actually what they're doing is they're going through and they're just scratching up all the snow and they're getting all the good forage underneath. Of course, right now it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of forage because of the snow on top of it, but I can guarantee that there is a ton of forage in here that's still green and that's really good. I just think it's awesome that the sheep are able to do this. Before ever owning them, I would have had no idea that they would have done this. I would have expected that we would have absolutely had to been out here with hay or something else. But the key is you got to make sure that if you're going to have them out on pasture and you're going to rely on forage through the winter, you got to make sure that you have enough forage, because they're going to need way more feed when it's cold than when it's hot. Take a look at these guys scratching up. Here's Chico. What's up, Rudy?
Oreo and Chico behind you.
Let me know if Chico looks like he's getting frisky back there.
He's sniffing you. Oh, he's grabbing your coat.
Boys, no chewing on my coat. They're like, but it looks tasty and it's easier to get than the grass that's underneath. Oh, look at that. Feeling frisky. I like it. Just don't be too rough with each other. Everybody's happily scarfing, man. Oh. Look at everybody just digging away. Nope. How you doing, Joy? I brushed Joy out earlier to get all the snow off her back. She's one of the only ones that will actually let us do that. The rest of them, I'd brush them out if I could, just to get any ice build up off of them, but obviously they're not too worried about it. But look at her, she's all brushed out. Not necessarily something that you absolutely got to do, but if they'll let me, the next day after the snow, I try and get it off of them. Especially because we're supposed to be getting a little bit of wind today. So I just want to make sure that their coat is going to protect them as much as possible. Now look at that over there.
Look at Chico.
Look at Chico over here. He's got a snow mustache and beard going. That's hilarious. Who do you think you are, Santa Claus? That's so funny. All right, guys. And last but not least, I really want to show you guys how Holly's doing. She's our winter lamb, and she is doing excellent. Her mom's got really good milk and is a really good mom for her. Takes great good care of her. Keeps her really close by her all the time. And she's learning all the behaviors. And if you notice, what is she doing over there? Little Holly is over there scratching through the snow and eating forage. Can you guys believe that? If you've never had sheep, then it's probably pretty hard to believe that this is what they do, but it's just natural for them, especially if they're born on pasture. You know, the way that we're raising these sheep is they're just going to be absolutely tough as nails. Yep. But because we're out here quite often too, they're super friendly, most of them. Aren't you? And the ones that aren't super friendly, they start to come around a little bit more. Like Rudy, she never used to let me pet her until recently. The more used to you they get, and the more they see that you're not a threat and that they can trust you. Eventually, I think they'll mostly come around and be a lot more handleable. But I gotten to the point with these sheep that I can even use just a simple electric net and make a small catch pen. And I know, and they know that they could just jump over it. They could just run right through it. But as long as I'm careful and don't spook them too much, then I can just make a little catch pen and separate a few out if I need to. And that's pretty cool. I don't know, I don't think you'd be able to do that if you got a brand new set of sheep, but I've had these ones now for quite a while, so going on a couple years now, so they trust me pretty good.
But they all seem to be doing pretty good.
Pretty impressive to see a new lamb doing that in the wintertime. Out here foraging through the snow. They're impressive sheep. And even though they don't have wool, they seem to stay plenty warm. The main concern I think that you really got to be careful of when you need to make sure that they have some kind of shelter is if you're going to get freezing rain and wind. That seems to be a recipe for some problems. So freezing rain is definitely a concern with really low temperatures, you know, because it's going to soak them through and freeze them. And then if you end up with wind too after that, that is a concern. But other than that, some snow and even temperatures around 0 is not really a concern, as long as they're not just getting completely soaked. Last year we did have that happen. We had freezing rain and really heavy wind, and it was like a -40 wind chill. And so we went and actually put up a new shelter before that came and made sure that they had some place to get out of it. But we're not expecting any of that. And if you see, as long as they have forage, plenty of stuff to eat and keep their body heat up, they're not shivering, they're not uncomfortable, they're just fine. They're just happily grazing like they normally would. Just takes a little bit more work. So you got to make sure It's critical that they have plenty of forage. You can't have them in an area where they're not really going to get anything, because then they're going to get cold and bogged down, and they'll probably just stand there and look like a drowned rat for a while, and that's not good. But, what's up, Santa Claus? Everybody's scarfing.